No one knew his name. He didn't speak much. He just walked through the dark streets of the city and planted light. But every time he did, something strange happened. People started changing. A lonely child smiled. A tired woman found peace. And a broken man stood up again. Who was he? And why did he care so much about a place everyone else had forgotten? This is the story of a gardener who never planted flowers. He planted something far more powerful. The city was tired. Not the kind of tired that came after a long day, but the kind of tired that settled into the streets, the buildings, and the people. Gray walls, gray skies, gray eyes. Even the trees seemed to have forgotten how to bloom. People walked fast with their heads down. Children played less. The air felt heavy, like it carried a secret no one wanted to speak out loud. But one morning something changed. It started on Maple Street, a small patch of land that had been dry and forgotten for years. Cracked soil, trash, and weeds suddenly had something new. A flower. Just one, bright yellow, glowing like it didn't belong. And next to it, footprints in the dirt. The neighbors noticed. "Someone must have planted it," an old woman said. "Probably an accident," said the man from the bakery, but nobody knew who had done it. The next day there were 5 more, then 10. By the end of the week, a garden had taken over the empty lot. Wildflowers in impossible colors, small lanterns hanging from sticks, and a scent of lavender in the air. But no one had seen who was doing it until Leo did. Leo was 10 years old and curious about everything. He lived in a small apartment with his mom on the 3rd floor, just across from the garden. He spent most of his afternoons at the window, drawing with crayons and looking at the world. But that night, when he couldn't sleep, he saw something strange. At 3:12 a.m., someone stepped into the garden. A man, tall and thin, wearing a long coat and a hat that covered most of his face. He moved slowly, like he was listening to the earth. He dug with his hands. No tools, no noise. And when he placed the seeds in the soil, they glowed faintly before disappearing underground. Leo's eyes widened. He pressed his nose to the glass, not wanting to miss anything, but the man never looked up. Just as silently as he came, he left, walking down the street and fading into the dark. The next morning, Leo ran outside. The places where the man had dug now had tiny sprouts, blue, purple, golden. They shimmered in the light. From that day on, Leo began watching every night, and every night the man came. He never used a flashlight. He never spoke. But wherever he passed, the ground lit up. Leo started to call him the man who planted light. One evening, Leo decided to follow him. He waited until the man had finished the garden and began to walk. Staying in the shadows, Leo tiptoed behind, down Maple Street, across the silent square, past the broken fountain no one used anymore. Finally, the man stopped in front of an abandoned playground. He stood still for a long time, then knelt near the rusted swing set. He touched the ground, and Leo could swear the swing moved just a little, like it remembered children laughing. Then a tiny light appeared beside the swing. A small white flower opened. The man stood, turned around, and looked straight at Leo. Leo froze, but the man did not speak. He simply smiled, a quiet, tired smile, and placed one finger over his lips, like a secret between them. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing once again into the shadows. Leo stood there, heart pounding, not from fear, from something else. Wonder. A feeling he hadn't had in a long time. The next day, Leo went to the abandoned playground. There were flowers everywhere, tiny lights danced between the cracks in the pavement. And on the swing, something new. A note. Even the smallest light can change the darkest place. It wasn't signed, but Leo knew who left it. From that day on, Leo wasn't just watching, he was learning. Every night he followed the man, sometimes closely, sometimes from a distance. And the man, though silent, always led him. They never spoke. But something unspoken passed between them. Trust, respect, curiosity. Leo began to notice things he had never paid attention to before. Like how the man always stopped at places others had forgotten. A cracked bench where an old man used to feed birds. A broken fence where a girl once waited for her father to come home. A dark alley that smelled like sadness. Wherever he stopped, he planted something, but not just seeds. He planted light. One night, Leo got brave. He brought a flower with him, one he had drawn and colored himself. It was made of paper and hope. He placed it in the dirt next to one of the glowing plants and whispered, "For my dad." The man looked at him. Leo looked back. That night they planted together. The man handed Leo a handful of glowing seeds. They felt warm in his palm, soft, alive. Together in the quiet of the city, they made something beautiful. A small garden in front of a closed bakery. The scent of orange blossoms filled the air. Leo smiled for the first time in weeks. The next morning, something strange happened. People noticed. Not just the flowers, but the change. The baker left the door open a little longer than usual. A woman gave her seat to an old man on the bus. A boy who never smiled was now laughing with chalk in his hands, drawing suns on the sidewalk. And at the heart of it all was the garden. It had become a place to breathe. People didn't know who had created it, but they began to care for it, watering the plants, cleaning the area, even adding decorations. Leo saw it all and felt something rise in his chest. Pride, joy, but also a question. Who was the man? One night, Leo asked. He waited until they had finished planting a long row of tiny silver plants that looked like stars. "Who are you?" he whispered. The man paused. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He handed it to Leo and gave a soft nod. Then he walked away, disappearing into the early morning mist. Leo unfolded the note. "I was once like you, lost, small, afraid, but someone planted light in me. Now I pass it on." No name, just that. Leo held the note to his chest. It felt heavy and light at the same time. The next few weeks passed like magic. The city slowly changed. Colors returned. Laughter returned, not because of one man, but because people started noticing each other again. All over the city, new gardens bloomed, not just from the man, but from children, families, neighbors, planting flowers, leaving notes, sharing kindness. And then one day the man didn't come. Not that night, not the next, not for a whole week. Leo waited. He walked the streets, returned to every garden they had made together, but there was no sign of the man. Until one day at the first garden, on the one on Maple Street, Leo saw something new. A small wooden sign. It read, "You have the light now." Leo sat in front of the little wooden sign, reading the words again and again. "You have the light now." It didn't feel real. He missed the quiet footsteps, the rustling coat, the soft clink of glass jars filled with glowing seeds. He missed the silence that never felt empty. But he also knew, deep inside, that the message was true. Something had changed in him. He got up and walked home. Not with heavy feet, but with a decision forming in his chest. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a notebook, the one where he used to doodle during class, filled with angry scribbles or nothing at all. Now he filled it with sketches of places in the city that needed light. The old bus stop where a woman always sat alone. The alley where a boy cried once when his dog went missing. The corner store where the owner hadn't smiled since his wife passed away. He made a list. He made a plan. That weekend, Leo visited the first spot. He brought tiny glass jars filled with seeds, not glowing yet, but with labels. Hope. You're seen. It gets better. He planted them gently, not just the seeds, but his heart. People walked by. Some ignored him. Others stared. A little girl asked, "What are you doing?" Leo smiled, planting light. By the end of the month, more people had joined. A teenager painted old fences with cheerful colors. An elderly woman placed benches and books in a quiet square. A group of kids started planting sunflowers along the school wall. They didn't know each other, but they were connected by something invisible, like roots under the ground. Leo called it the light chain, and it kept growing. Years passed. Leo grew too. He became tall, quiet, and kind, a young man with dirt on his hands and brightness in his eyes. People still didn't know how the gardens had started. They talked about a boy and a man, or like characters from a story. Leo didn't correct them. He liked the mystery. He liked that it wasn't about who did it, but why. One autumn morning, Leo visited the garden on Maple Street, the first one. The flowers were still there. Older now, some wild, some tamed. A small boy was sitting on the bench, knees hugged to his chest. He looked sad, small, alone. Leo sat beside him. "Hi." The boy looked up. "Hi." They sat in silence for a while. Then Leo reached into his coat and handed the boy a tiny glass jar. Inside it, one seed. The label read, "Light belongs to those who choose to carry it." The boy looked at it for a long time, then nodded. As Leo walked away, he didn't turn back. He didn't need to. He knew. The light would keep spreading, just like it did for him, just like it always would. Thanks for listening to Fluent Tales. Did this story inspire you? Subscribe to hear more English stories like this one. We learn best when we feel every word.